many agree on one thing. In the last few decades, governments have failed to build a strategy to prevent Italy from falling further.
Dozens of protesters led by the USV Union burnt energy bills in Italy's capital Rome and took to the streets to demonstrate their anger owing to the ongoing cost of living crisis in the country.
Italy, the land of espresso mornings, marble cities, and sunsets that could make poets cry. But behind that postcard perfection, life is tightening its grip. Bills rising, jobs fading, dreams shrinking. The land of La Dolce Vita suddenly feels less sweet. So, what happened to the Italian dream? Let's pull back the curtain and see why everyday life here is getting harder than ever. Let's start with what Italians feel every single day: the rising cost of living. Walk into any supermarket and you'll hear the quiet sighs at the checkout line. Groceries that used to cost 40 euros now push past 60 euros. Electricity bills double in winter. Gasoline? A small heartbreak every time you fill up. Inflation hit Italy hard after the pandemic, and not in the abstract, economist kind of way. This was real, personal inflation. The kind that sneaks into your home, your dinner table, your morning coffee. Italy relies heavily on imported energy, so when global fuel prices spiked after 2022, households here got slammed. Add to that the ripple effects of supply chain shocks, and you've got a cost storm that just doesn't seem to calm. And wages? They're standing still. So every month feels like a tug of war between income and survival. Italy's salary problem isn't new, but it's reaching a breaking point. Even as prices rise, most workers haven't seen real wage increases in years. Economists call it stagnation salariale, wage stagnation, and it's squeezing the middle class out of existence. People aren't getting poorer overnight, they're just slowly losing ground. And the worst part? It's not because Italians aren't working hard, it's because the structure of the economy itself makes it almost impossible for wages to keep pace with inflation. Collective labor agreements, which are supposed to protect workers, often take years to renegotiate. By the time a new one is signed, prices have already climbed higher. For many young Italians, it feels like they're running on a treadmill, moving faster but going nowhere. So why aren't wages rising? Simple answer is the productivity. Complicated reality is the decades of stagnation. Italian productivity, the amount of value produced per worker, has barely grown since the early 2000s. Compare that to Germany or France, and you'll see the gap widening year after year. Why? Because Italy's economy is made up mostly of small, family-run businesses that don't have the capital or scale to modernize quickly. They're proud, traditional, and often local, but also slow to adopt new technologies, digital systems, or automation. That keeps productivity low. And low productivity means employers can't afford to pay more, even if they want to. It's not about laziness. It's about a structure that punishes smallness and rewards the few big players who can afford to evolve. But here's the quiet crisis behind the numbers. Italy is growing old. Birth rates have hit record lows. For every newborn, there are twice as many people turning 60. And while that sounds poetic, a country of wisdom and heritage, it's economically devastating. An aging population means fewer workers paying into the system and more retirees depending on pensions and healthcare. It's like a table with too many plates and not enough legs to support it. Young Italians, meanwhile, are leaving, heading to Germany, the UK, Canada, anywhere that offers better wages and opportunities. It's the infamous brain drain, and it's hollowing the country out. The future workforce is walking out the door, degree in hand. So, Italy isn't just aging, it's emptying. Now imagine you're one of the few young Italians who want to stay and start a business. You've got passion, creativity, and maybe even a small loan from your family. Then you hit the wall of Italian bureaucracy. Every permit, every form, every approval. It's a maze. What should take weeks can take months. Starting a cafe, a startup, even a small workshop means endless paperwork and unpredictable taxes. This isn't just annoying, it's a dream killer. Entrepreneurs give up. Investors look elsewhere. Innovation dies in the waiting line. And without fresh businesses, you can't expect job creation or wage growth. That's how the system quietly chokes itself, not with corruption anymore, but with complexity. Then there's a hidden bill in Italy, and it's called corruption. It isn't always a headline scandal. It's slower, quieter, a contract that costs more than it should, a permit that moves only if you know someone, a project that takes years and still isn't done. What does that mean day to day? Money leaks from schools, hospitals, and roads. Good ideas lose to good connections. Small businesses play fair and still finish last. It's like an extra tax on honesty, making everything heavier, slower, more expensive. And when trust at home feels thin, many look outward, to Europe, for standards, funding, and pressure to clean things up. EU membership has been both helpful and hard. On the plus side, it opened a huge market, smoothed trade and travel, and sent real money. Funds for roads, digital upgrades, and after the pandemic, a major recovery boost. That support matters. But the euro also took away an old safety valve. Italy can't devalue its currency to stay competitive. Budget rules from Brussels push discipline, leaving less room to spend big or move fast in a downturn. So it feels like both protection and constraint, help is there, flexibility isn't. In short, the EU can steady the ship and nudge reforms, but it also sets limits on how Italy steers. And when room to maneuver is small, governments reach for the tool they still control: taxes. That's where the squeeze becomes personal. Italy's tax burden is among the highest in Europe. Between income tax, VAT, and social contributions, many people feel like they're working half the month just to pay the state. And while Italy's social services, healthcare, education are decent, they don't always feel worth the cost when roads crumble and trains run late. It's a bitter trade-off. Italians pay some of the highest taxes in the EU, yet the return in quality of life feels inconsistent. That erodes trust, not just in government, but in the idea that hard work still pays off. If you live in Milan or Bologna, life still feels manageable, opportunities exist, wages are higher, services are smoother. But go south to Calabria, Sicily, or Campania, and you enter another Italy entirely. The North-South divide is one of Europe's oldest economic rifts. The industrialized North attracts investment, while the South battles unemployment, poor infrastructure, and fewer prospects. That means entire regions are stuck in survival mode, relying on tourism or seasonal work. For young people in Naples or Palermo, the choice often boils down to leaving home or accepting underpaid, unstable work. It's not just a regional issue, it's a national wound that keeps reopening. Even for those lucky enough to have jobs, security is slipping away. Temporary contracts, gig work, unpaid internships, these have become the new normal. For the younger generation, a permanent position feels like a fantasy. Instead, they hop from one short-term contract to another, never sure if next month's paycheck will arrive. And without stability, big life steps, buying a house, getting married, having kids, get delayed or abandoned altogether. That feeds right back into the demographic crisis. Fewer children, fewer future workers, and a shrinking economy. Italy's youth isn't lazy. It's trapped in a cycle that punishes ambition and rewards endurance. Zoom out to the big picture, Italy's public debt. It's massive, one of the highest in Europe. For decades, governments borrowed heavily to maintain pensions, public services, and economic stability. But now, as interest rates rise, that debt costs more to maintain. Every euro spent on interest is a euro not spent on innovation, education, or infrastructure. It's like dragging an anchor through history, the debts of yesterday slowing down the dreams of tomorrow. And because Italy's part of the Eurozone, it can't simply print more money or adjust its currency to regain competitiveness. The fiscal leash is tight, and every reform feels like walking a tightrope between European rules and domestic demands. And here's something no statistic can capture: the cultural resistance to change. Italy's a nation built on tradition. That's its charm, but also its curse. Family businesses prefer to stay small. Workers prefer job security over risk. Politicians often prioritize stability over reform. Change is uncomfortable. Modernization threatens the familiar. And so reforms that could open up the economy or simplify taxes often die in debate. It's not laziness or denial. It's a deep cultural instinct to protect what's known. But in a world moving faster than ever, protection can start looking a lot like paralysis. All of this, the prices, the wages, the uncertainty, takes a toll not just economically, but emotionally. You hear it in conversations at cafes, in tired voices at train stations, in the small talk between colleagues who are just trying to get by. There's a sense of exhaustion. Not hopelessness, Italians are too resilient for that, but fatigue. The fatigue of constantly adapting, constantly tightening, constantly waiting for things to get better. Life isn't collapsing, it's just getting heavier. And that heaviness is reshaping what it means to live in Italy today. But here's the thing, Italy isn't doomed. It's struggling, yes, but also adapting in quiet, powerful ways. Young entrepreneurs are building startups in Milan's tech districts. Renewable energy projects are rising across Sicily. The government is investing billions from the EU's recovery fund into infrastructure and digital modernization. And amid it all, Italians are still doing what they have always done best, finding beauty in struggle. Families still gather for Sunday lunch, artists still paint. Farmers still nurture the land. There's a stubborn optimism that refuses to die, even when everything else feels fragile. Maybe that's the secret, not escaping the hardness, but enduring it with grace. Life in Italy is getting tougher with the rising costs, fading wages, and aging nation. But if history's proven anything, it's that Italy never stays down for long. Hit like, smash subscribe, and tell us what life's like where you are, because Italy's fight might just be everyone's future.